Rebecca's got a very exciting bit of news to share with us. For any of us who are encouraging people to clearly inform their ex or soon to be ex that going to court could be very, very expensive, and there are better ways, because that's quite a good way to get people to listen. And Rebecca's got a great example of that.
So I have been acting for a husband in financial proceedings, and they separated in 2020. We issued in 2022 April because we just weren't getting anywhere, and we only had the FDR 2 weeks ago. So I act for husband, wife walked out of mediation very early on. We then tried collaborative law, and she made a farcical proposal. She's the one with the pensions, and there was a jointly owned house, but there was a issue where one of the her sister is a co-owner, so they live together. Her mother and her sister live together. My client was living with them, but then they separated. So there was a bit of an issue about mother's interest and sister's interest. Anyway, to cut a very long story short, in the collaborative proposal, she offered something like 5% and no pension sharing, so that failed. Her solicitors constantly failed to deal with inquiries. On her instructions, they had a very tricky job, so I'm not blaming them. It was a very tricky job. And actually, the lawyer I know very well, and I know that it wouldn't have been him. He's also very keen on mediation and non-court. Never made any proposals. Every time we asked for something, it just took weeks, months. We had a directions appointment in November 2023, and we were ordered to file a pension sharing in a POD report, and she failed to pay the fee for that until July 24. So there's a whole history of her just not really bothered, because she's in the house. And at the FDR 2 weeks ago, I got a costs order. So we settled. Now, this will horrify you, because after all the backwards and forwards, they are arguing over £200,000 worth of equity and £150,000 worth of pension. PAG is clear. He was going to get a pension share. That was never in doubt. She was arguing about the equity. They spent £98,000. My fees were £47,000. I have never had a case with £47,000 worth of fees ever.
That you much rather had just got settled under court, because it's £47,000 worth of your hard work and time that's taken up. And I think this is what people don't often realise. Okay, yes, there's money in it for the lawyers involved, but it's a lot of time and a lot of work. And in between, if you weren't doing that, you would be able to do far more mediation and arbitrations. And
absolutely, because as you know, both of you, that okay, I could have charged my client for every single word of every letter and email and telephone call, but I'm not a big firm. I don't have to do that. And so he's also had an awful lot of my time outside of what I've charged for, and a lot of my thoughts and thinking process outside of what I've charged for, because those cases take up an awful lot of bandwidth. And as I say, the solicitor that she had instructed was really sensible. If I was to say the name, you would know them immediately, and they are very, very sensible. And they had a very hard job with her because they had to carry out her instructions. But this solicitor is also a mediator.
Oh, so they would have said, yes, you could end up having to pay for all of this, and made that clear.
And the costs were limited, because they were only limited up to the FDR, and we did settle at the FDR. But it was about her litigation conduct. The way she had conducted things. She'd never responded to offers. We'd made an open offer, and she made an open offer the night before the FDR, which is, contrary to the rules in any event, and that's why it was ordered. But the solicitors, her solicitor had a really tough job.
Yeah. So that's the sad thing is that even though she was pre-warned, she still went and did it anyway. So I guess there's always going to be those cases. So what's your advice for people when they've got someone, because I like to give them hope that the other person might not be stupid, and they may go, oh, this isn't necessarily going to work out for me, this isn't my day in court moment, this is just could be very expensive. And especially if they've got a solicitor saying, why don't you give it a go with the mediation or try arbitration. if you've got someone who just isn't going to listen to that, is there anything you can do other than just?
I think it is what you've just said, Susie. If you've got a difficult solicitor on the other side, and you know that maybe they are upping the ante and it isn't just the client instructions, then making sure that every letter is proportionate, respectful, because you will always look better. You'll just always look better. I offered mediation at so many stages. I offered arbitration. I offered a private FDR. I offered to have a neutral assessment for some of the preliminary issues, none of which was taken up. So I think just to make sure you keep on your file a note of when you've done all those things.
That you're the reasonable one.
And make sure that you are advising your own client to make some offers.
Yeah, and so this is a healthy sign. Do you think the judiciary, like the courts, are just sick to death of people using them to try and bully each other?
I think they are, and this judge made it really clear that he had an awful lot of cases to deal with in his list. And what the heck were we doing here, arguing over 200 grand? But yet it had taken 5 years.